Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Xabi Alonso held secret meetings before he took the Chelsea job. Benoit Badiashile was this close to leaving Chelsea and going to Napoli. Axel Disasi is also very close to leaving the club. Valentin Barco has officially been announced as a Chelsea player. Mykhailo Mudryk could be going on loan, with Coventry being one of the interested clubs. And apparently, Chelsea could be back in the race to sign Victor Osimhen. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 20k before the start of the season. Kicking things off, Nizar Kinsella has reported that Xabi Alonso held discreet meetings in London and his hometown of San Sebastian over 3 weeks in early May to ensure Chelsea was the right fit. Alonso says, "I had a view of Chelsea from the outside. I could see the positives and my concerns, so I addressed them. We had the same ideas, the same analysis, to start building momentum together. That is why we are taking these steps together and making decisions to build a good team." The Athletic have reported what Xabi Alonso said in a recent interview about Chelsea, and he says it is the team that has played really well recently, and the situation was not as bad as it looked at the end of the last season. There is big potential to improve, and let's see how long it takes. Nizar Kinsella then reported what Alonso said on the backing he's received so far this summer, and Alonso says, "We have taken a few steps, but I feel that we can still take a few more." Ekrem Kanor has reported that Chelsea are considering a move for Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen. The Blues admire the Nigerian forward and could submit an offer in the near future. Galatasaray value Osimhen at €65 million after Tottenham made an offer worth €50 to €55 million. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I already know that the comments are going to be like, why are we listening to this? People that have not even watched the video that are going to just pile negativity in the comments. Look, I hear it. I really do. This is more of a conversational piece for you guys. Ekrem Kanor, in my opinion, it just dropped down that ratings of like cool. Sometimes conversational pieces are great, but I can't say this is reliable. This is wild. I understand this from a Turkish outlet. He's in Turkey. It makes sense. They're going to want to drum up some interest. There is no way that Chelsea go buy Victor Osimhen this summer. I know we're moving different. I know Alonso's there. I know we're getting more experience in, and this would be an incredible sign. I will still say it. It seems like if Chelsea were ever to make this move, it will be too late, and we should have done this years ago. And I still think that ship has sailed. It's sunk. It's at the bottom of the ocean. They're trying to find it. That's how far gone it is, right? However, wouldn't it be funny if we bought him out of spite to stop Spurs getting him? Because there has been multiple reports on the Spurs front saying that they have put in a bid for around £55 million rather than euros, which makes a big difference. And it was turned down. And Galatasaray won around £65 million, which again makes the euros irrelevant, more like 70, 75 million, right? Now, if that is the case, that is why Chelsea reignite their interest, because they're going to be like, we don't want a rival going to get Victor Osimhen, because I tell you what, Tottenham have been moving mad this summer, and if they go sign the likes of Tonali and Sensational and Anthony Robertson and then go get Victor Osimhen, what are we doing here? That is wild. That really upgrades Tottenham. Right? I don't care what you say about Spurs, but having Osimhen as a striker in the Prem, the guy's going to do bits. And we know that, which is why we get so excited every summer when we're linked with him. This has got to be the longest transfer saga I've ever seen in my life. Other than maybe Ronaldinho when I was a teenager. That went on for years and it never happened. This is very something similar. I saw Tobes, he put on Twitter the other day, it's like, we're approaching Hulk territory. Because we were linked with Hulk for years and years and years and years and it never happened. So I'm not for 1 second saying this is going to happen, but I do find it very interesting in terms of the situation being very different. This isn't being gassed up as Chelsea are going to go buy him. This is more Spurs are knocking on the door, they had a bid rejected, and Chelsea's ears are pricked up. And they could go put an offer in just so that he doesn't go to Spurs. And we've done that before with the likes of Willian. Hazard was one of those very similar players. It was United and Spurs, and there's 3 other things that happened within that type of signing. We've done it before. And on that side of things, up you will fall for it, you know. And at that point, if you are going to commit and get Victor Osimhen, you're going to be paying him a ridiculous wage, which would break the wage structure. He's not going to reduce his fee. That was the main breakdown of the negotiations a few years ago. We didn't want to pay him the money. We had this wage incentivized structure. He was like, no, thank you. And why would he? Well, he's on mental money at Galatasaray. I do think that Victor Osimhen should be playing in the top 5 league. That is one thing I'm going to be brutally honest with. Like, he should be playing in the top 5 league. He was in Italy, banging in goals. He's gone to Galatasaray, banging in goals. Obviously, it's a massive paycheck for him. He loves Chelsea. Drogba was his idol. It does make sense on paper. It would be a mad move. I would welcome it with open arms, but even if it doesn't, it wouldn't even make sense. We've got João Pedro. Like, what? You wouldn't bench Pedro for Osimhen, would you? We wouldn't bench Osimhen for Pedro, would you? You'd have to play both of them at some point. Like, that would be an elite level striking partnership that I don't even know how you'd manage that as a manager. I think Alonso would struggle with that. But like, how do I fit all these people in? We have to play 4-3-3. Do you know what I mean? Just to make it happen. Or play 2 up front and hope they don't get injured. 2 up front with a couple behind. And we'll go from there. So maybe there are ways of shoehorning him in for sure. But I just find this absolutely baffling. It's every single summer. We started early this year. It was back in, like, I don't know, May that we were having the links with Osimhen. And it looked like it was going to revive to something. But yeah, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say that it is not going to happen. And if it does, then honestly, what dimension am I in? Because it's just been year after year after year of it not happening. So, like I said, the only angle I can see is if Spurs are going in, they've had a bid rejected, and then Chelsea are going in to stop that. That I could genuinely see. That Chelsea are like, hang on a minute. No, you ain't getting Victor Osimhen. We'll get him out of spite, and we'll figure it out after. We'll just figure it out. We'll get Victor Osimhen in. Alonso, we've got you this elite striker. Do you want him? Yeah. Unless you drop João Pedro deeper because he's so versatile. I don't know. But in my opinion, I think João Pedro is our out-and-out 9. Yes, he is versatile, but that's what his job's going to be. He's going to bag loads of goals. Honestly, that's some FIFA stuff. Having Osimhen and João Pedro in rotation. That's wild. Absolutely wild. So I don't think there's any truth to this whatsoever, other than maybe loosely the Tottenham bid and Chelsea's ears pricking up. That I can believe, if that is the case. But I don't for 1 second think that Chelsea are going to go in for Osimhen, put money on the table and try and get him signed. And this could be his agent trying to stir up some interest to try and drive a move away from Galatasaray. But yeah, only on like 20 million euros a year or something silly like that. Like, why would he move? Why would he move? He'd have to take a mad pay cut unless Spurs are willing to pay him 200-300 grand a week, which they probably are, under this new sort of way that they're at with Tonali and everyone else being signed. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Chelsea apparently being back in the race to sign Victor Osimhen. Do you think this will ever happen? Do you think this is just a waffle? Do you think there could be an element of truth because Spurs have gone in that Chelsea are thinking, oh, hang on, if he's going Spurs, we've got to stop that? I'll be very curious to know your thoughts. How would you fit João Pedro? FM has reported that Benoit Badiashile is close to leaving Chelsea for Napoli. Loan plus option to buy being discussed. He goes on to say, breaking, Chelsea and Napoli are closing in on an agreement for Benoit Badiashile. The discussions are about a loan with an option to buy. The French defender is open to a move to Italy, and new talks are scheduled this week to try and reach a definitive agreement. And Fabrice Hawkins has reported breaking news. Crystal Palace are set to submit an offer to Chelsea for Axel Disasi. Talks between the clubs are currently ongoing. This is so good. So good. Badiashile was on the verge of leaving. So is Axel Disasi out of nowhere. While I'm recording, this has just dropped. Breaking news. Badiashile and Disasi both leaving in the same window. Are we dreaming? Are we dreaming? Let's not shop at Monaco for the foreseeable future. Yeah, how about that? Just how about that? Let's get rid of these guys and just forget that they play for Chelsea, please. This is amazing news for Chelsea fans, man. And I don't want to just throw bricks at the guys, but at the same time, Disasi's been in the bomb squad for so long. We're trying to get rid of him for ages. Benoit Badiashile has been injured at every transfer window in the last few years where we know that we need to offload him. And now we're at the point where he's very close to going Napoli, obligation to buy on a loan deal. I'll take it. I'll take it. Would I rather a lump of cash up front? Yes, of course I would. Of course I would. But knowing how Chelsea are operating, they're probably going to get some sort of loan fee up front, and then they're going to have the obligation to buy, if he ticks all the boxes, and hopefully he does. Hopefully it's relatively easy to do that. And when it comes to Disasi, we still don't know as of right now, at the time we're recording, whether it's going to be a loan or a permanent. And I would assume it would be a permanent deal because Chelsea and Palace have a very good relationship. They have been inquiring about Mamadou Sarr on loan, Josh Ashimpong, Axel Disasi, and obviously Chelsea still want Adam Wharton. So we are going to want to try and keep that line very, very warm for them. And if Axel Disasi is open to going to Palace, it's Premier League football. I think he'd do all right there, to be fair. And they want to give us a chunk of change for a permanent move. We will love you forever, Palace. Unreal. Pleasure doing business with you. Please take him. And if we have to pay an extra 5 million for the next player that we buy, whether it's Wharton or not a problem, because you've taken Disasi off us. I will quite happily, that's not my money, I know that, but I would quite happily pay the extra as a thank you. Do you know what I mean? Be like, cool, here's an extra 5 mil on top as a tip for taking away Disasi, because we've been trying to offload him for a long time. And look, I think these guys are going to go on and have fairly decent careers. I think Disasi is a Premier League defender. I think Badiashile is a Premier League defender. Just not for Chelsea, and that's the caveat. Not for Chelsea. Chelsea moving in a different direction. Alonso's made that very clear with the signings that we're making this summer. We've got to thin out the squad. No European football. I think we've got like 38 players registered, and now we've got to really reduce that as much as we can. It makes sense, and we knew that these guys were going to be off. Badiashile was open to the move as well, to go to the Serie A.
The first football association to officially withdraw support for Gianni Infantino's re-election. That's according to our colleagues at Sky News. It's the latest show of no confidence in the FIFA president following UEFA on Saturday morning, as Infantino's position as the leader of world football hangs by a thread. This is the statement the Welsh FA gave Sky News late last night. The Football Association of Wales hereby confirms its withdrawal of support for the candidature of Mr. Gianni Infantino for re-election as FIFA president for the 2027-31 term. The recent failures in good governance, processes, leadership, values, stakeholders management, communications and sound judgment have led us to a position where Mr. Infantino has lost the confidence of the FAW. To remain at the helm of world football, failing to put the best interests of football first is a failure we cannot accept.
This is, we expect, the start of a cascade of letters from across Europe to pile pressure on Infantino to leave office after his botched attempts to sell off stakes in the World Cup to private investors. This crisis is escalating now on Infantino. We've had the loss of confidence in his leadership from UEFA on Saturday. Now the start of a new week is beginning with an attempt to force action from him, because we've still not heard from Gianni Infantino since the European football associations withdrew their support on Saturday. And we also heard from the North American Confederation as well that they didn't back him too at the moment in terms of his leadership. Wales does have a significant role in world football. In February, they were hosting Gianni Infantino for a major meeting. The laws of football are set by the body called the International Football Association Board. It's made up of 8 votes, half are held by FIFA, the other 4 by the home UK associations, including Wales. So that gives Wales a lot of clout in the world, and this is an attempt to start the momentum from within Europe to see that Infantino doesn't stand for re-election, but there's a desire to see him lose office sooner. On Sunday, we discovered that UEFA had threatened Gianni Infantino with legal action over this attempt to sell off shares in the World Cup. They've told him to retain all documentation, and this really is a significant and growing rebellion facing Gianni Infantino, who's been in power for 10 years, but now is on the brink and could well be forced out of office in disgrace. But Wales has become the first football association worldwide to withdraw its support for Gianni Infantino's re-election bid next year in an attempt to pile on the pressure to see him leave office.
So what would it take to oust Infantino from his position? Firstly, an emergency FIFA Congress can be called by 20% of the 211 member associations. That would be 43 of them. And then a vote of no confidence can be held. Or the associations can put forward an alternative candidate ahead of the November the 18th deadline to challenge Infantino for next March's FIFA presidential election. Or Infantino can simply take the decision to resign himself. Well, we know support for Infantino is waning, so could this past week prove to be the tipping point for a presidency of considerable controversy? Back in 2022, there were a number of human rights issues raised before the World Cup in Qatar, which led to this incredible news conference from Infantino as he fired back at Western hypocrisy.
Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled. Today I feel a migrant worker. But I feel like them because I know what it means to be discriminated, to be bullied as a foreigner in a foreign country, as a child at school. I was bullied because I had red hair, and I had these red, how do you call them?
Freckles.
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 Sorry?
Freckles.
Freckles. I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years.
2 years later, Saudi Arabia, despite their own human rights issues and environmental record, were awarded the 2034 World Cup. Critics also argued, with the next World Cup being held across 3 continents, that Saudi Arabia had been fast-tracked to hosting the tournament as part of FIFA's rotation policy. Infantino has not shied away from mingling with incredibly powerful world leaders, including Donald Trump. It led to another controversial moment before the World Cup draw at the end of last year. Yes, and that was, of course, him winning the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize, Donald Trump. 2 months later, in February 2026, the United States launched an attack on Iran. Then to the World Cup itself, high ticket prices, hydration breaks, a Somalian referee being refused a visa, and Iran's national team having to move their training base to Mexico were just a few of the controversies. Infantino even told reporters to chill at his antics. However, it all came to a head as Trump revealed he'd spoken to Infantino to get following Balogun's red card suspended, an unprecedented move.
All I did, I asked for a review because I didn't think it was a foul. And, you know, again, I'm good at this stuff. I didn't think it was a foul. I thought it was 2 great athletes that crashed into each other and got entangled. That was not a guy punching somebody in the face or anything that, you know, would be different. And I think it's a terrible, if they wouldn't allow, you know, a top player, maybe the best, maybe among the best players on the team, to play, I think it would have had a big stain.
It all concluded with the now infamous FIFA Forward Enterprise, a plan to sell off World Cup stakes that had to be scrapped after a global backlash. The Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has weighed in and says he's not fit to run football.
I do not believe that he is the right man to lead football forward on the world stage. The plan that was put forward was offensive to many people, football people around the world, and it can't be the case that we just move on and forget that. It wasn't acceptable, and as I say, I don't believe he's the right man to lead FIFA forward.